Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm out on another walk with the lovely Kevin Hall, who's just testing out his camera. Today, another of our Norfolk videos, and we're heading off, very exciting this one, to Benet's Abbey. There is a signpost here that gives us direction. Kevin is just behind me here.
Yep.
He's going to be making his own video of the event. So we're going to take a little walk, about a mile I think it is, isn't it, Kevin?
It's about that. Yeah,
down this track in front of us, and then we're going to have a look at the remains of Benet Abbey, which was obviously a monastery, and it's right on the edge of, now I've got to get this right, the River Thurn or something like that. Yes. And not the Bure, which is the one that we went on before.
That's the one we did yesterday, yes.
Yeah, so we're going to crack on down this route and see what we can see of the Abbey, which should be very interesting. Oh, it's getting exciting now, because in the distance we've just seen the beginnings of where we're going to be, the Abbey. There is what's interesting about this place is a windmill has since been built in the grounds of the Abbey, right by the gatehouse, I believe.
Yep.
So you've got this brick windmill which has no longer got the Dutch cap. It's a smock mill as far as I can see, and no longer got the cap or the sails, but just the basic shell of the windmill, right in the middle of the ruins of the Abbey's gatehouse. Which gives it a weird juxtaposition with history, because the windmill is now no longer being used itself, as indeed the Abbey, which has had the fate of the dissolution of the monasteries.
Yeah.
So you've got these two time capsules.
It's amazing looking at it from this distance, to see that old windmill structure just
sitting
stuck there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When planning this little walk, a friend of ours said you can sail up to it, the Abbey. You can sail there, or you can walk, but it's a bit of a walk, because you can sail up to it because it's on the river, and walk, but it's across a number of fields, which Kevin and I have just done. Turns out there's actually a car park down here, and you can park your car, and it looks like already it's relatively busy. There's the sails in the distance of sailing ships passing on the River Thurn, I think it is, as I said before. But let's go in and actually have a look at the Abbey. Just been reading on the inside some information about it. What I hate is turning up at somewhere and really just being incredibly ignorant. And unfortunately, on this trip we've not really planned where we're going until really the day of, and so we're turning up at places we just don't have all the information, which I know when people watch our videos they often say, well, why didn't you just do some research before you go? But I churn out so many, it's often very difficult. But reading the plaque here, it's fascinating that the windmill is a 18th century windmill.
Yep.
So it must have been built, I guess, in the late 1700s, I'm guessing, because of the Industrial Revolution and the manufacture of bricks and that sort of thing. So I'm going to plump for, I can look this up afterwards, maybe 1780s, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Abbey itself, it says on there it's 14th century, so that makes it 1300s. But it was founded much earlier, before the Norman conquest. So presumably there might have been some sort of church and a very simple thing, but in the 14th century, 88-acre site apparently.
It's huge, absolutely huge, yeah.
This is slightly lower on the higher ground to our left. I'm going to say, actually, probably to the east, is where the main church would have been. Huge site. But as we said before, the river is very handy for them. But just look at the knap work on the gate entrance. You know, absolutely stunning. There's not much left to see, but the napping, the inset of the stones there, the beautiful arch. You noticed all the carvings.
The carvings, yeah, where people have been going around and they've they've been putting their inscriptions on the stonework. But yeah, it's fascinating. Absolutely
saw
fascinating.
one from 1902.
Yeah.
But I guess there's going to be ones earlier if you hunt about.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, really interesting. Going to have another look round, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
This is the first time, Kevin,
Yes.
that you've been in a windmill.
Yes, it is.
It is, isn't it?
It's very strange. It's a very, very old one.
It is an old one, and this is so bizarre that they've built the windmill inside, or right butted up, and half of it in the gate entrance to the Abbey. And this is clearly the entrance you would have walked through this way.
Yep.
And then into the Abbey grounds. And the archway here from the exterior, we mentioned about the napping and that checkerboard.
Yes.
That wonderful checkerboard would have looked stunning.
It would, against the white stone.
Come this way a bit.
Against the white stone, it would have been fantastic,
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You just stood out on the flats, you know. And then there's a motif here. We've got a lion this side, and a knight, which must have been 1200 and something,
yes,
or 13th century knight in that sort of knight's gear that they wore. But this is, and then there's the windmill.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we were trying to work out, if you had built the windmill 15 feet that way, you would have had maximum space, and you wouldn't have had this impeding on you. But we just spoke to a gentleman. We were sort of speculating like this, and he said, "Oh, well, it's probably because the base, what do they call it? The foundations. The mills, the Abbey foundations would have been rock solid to hold the weight of all of this, and so it's clinging onto the gate probably to help it stop it from sinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because all that is just soft marsh.
Yeah.
So the miller was very canny and managed to build it here, of course. But the other thing that we didn't mention, which is fascinating, is this abbey has never been dissolved.
No, it hasn't.
I said at the beginning, it's ravaged by the dissolution of the monasteries, but this is the only abbey in England that is still technically an abbey, and there's a bishop who looks after it, which is in itself is fascinating. So presumably you could request the bishop to do something. I mean, it's all in ruins. It started to fall into ruins about 1545, so at the same time as the dissolution.
Yep.
But what an amazing thing. I've just found out some more information, actually. So there's me speculating, as I do.
As you do.
And then get it all wrong.
Yep.
Not corn, but apparently the windmill was built in 1720, and originally it was designed to crush oilseed.
Oilseed, yeah.
And then later on it was used for pumping, like the rest of them, the drainage and the water and stuff. So that's absolutely fascinating. Just taking a walk now. Kevin's doing a bit on filming on his video, and I've taken a walk back from the gate entrance, which is right back there behind me, and we're coming up to St. Benet's Church, and there's a huge cross which marks the altar, I believe, where the church was, and then you get an idea of where the nave must have been, which is just on my left here, and just little bits of the flint. Again, a lot of flint in this area. The flint wall where you can see Kevin walking, he'd have been walking through the nave, and I imagine in its day, of course, it would have been an incredibly impressive church. I don't know if there are any actual pictures that are in existence, but it's very lovely. And here, I'm going to just walk up finally to this cross, which I believe marks the altar. So much of the building after mid 1500s, when it all came to an end, was probably pilfered and used. Who knows, it may have ended up as foundations for many of the other windmills, because they needed some ballast, didn't they, for those foundations. There it is. Well, there we are. Again, a whistle-stop tour of somewhere that we managed to work out the stuff.
Yeah, eventually. Yes.
I know there'll be people who will, you know, put in the description, why didn't you do more research or all of that, but we're just on a walking tour, really.
Yes, we are, yeah.
Coming across places and trying to interpret. Somebody called me a topographer, and I like to describe what we see. I may not know all the history.
Yeah.
But that's it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. We've enjoyed this one, haven't we?
It's been lovely. Really has been lovely. Yep.
So don't forget to follow, like and subscribe, become a patron, support what we do. Leave a comment, of course, if you've been here. I'd love to know if you're somebody who's carved your name back there in 1825. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. Until next time, don't know where we're going to be, but until next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.